All right, if the wind doesn't blow you guys over and it's not blowing into the microphone and this audio comes out, we might actually be able to get this video done. I'm trying to shoot this outside. It is blowing 25 to 35 mile an hour right now. So I had to duck behind the truck here just to block the wind. The camera kept blowing over. The audio was coming out bad. There's tractors doing donuts on the street. A lot of things going on right now, and I have the worst luck anytime I try to shoot a video outside. But we're gonna try and get through it. I had a day off today. I opted to not go fishing out on Lake Okeechobee because it is blowing sustained 25 mile an hour right now with gusts up to 35. And I know I've got a 2-day championship tournament this weekend, but I always say, if you're gonna have bad conditions in the tournament and there's bad conditions during practice time, go fish it. But if you're gonna have good conditions, like it looks like we're gonna have for some reason, that's usually not the way it works, but if you're gonna have good conditions during the event and you have bad conditions, wind, cold front, whatever it might be during practice time, don't go, because you're gonna be fishing through what could be a very productive area with bad conditions, and you're not gonna get bit. You're gonna lose confidence in that area, and you're not gonna fish it when it matters. So I've been on the lake the last 4 days. I'm gonna be on the lake tomorrow and the next day, and then 2 days of the tournament. So I decided just to take a day off and get all of my house chores done. So I have a happy wife, happy life kind of deal, and I got nothing to worry about while I'm out there, and I can just concentrate on catching fish. Plus I gotta get the boat ready. I just got a lot of stuff around here with the animals and all kinds of stuff to do. But in between all that, I decided to take a minute to shoot a video for you guys, for you, and a kind of an experiment for me, because I've got something I finally got my hands on that I'm excited about. And a lot of you maybe already know about it. A lot of you watching this might already have experience with it and have won tournaments or caught fish on it. And we're gonna be talking about a chatterbait. I get a lot of questions on chatterbait fishing from a lot of you. I don't have confidence in it. I lose a lot of fish on it. I can't get bit. When do I throw it? This isn't that kind of a video. I will do a break, and I'm not Brett Height, okay? But I will do another video after this at some point regarding when I throw a chatterbait, what I look for to throw a chatterbait, all my mechanics, my rod, my reel, everything I use for a chatterbait. But that's not this video. This video, we're gonna be talking about a new chatterbait I got my hands on, and that is the Z-Man EVO, I think it's like an Evo Pro or something, chatterbait. And before we get into it, let's back up real quick about a chatterbait. So out here on Lake Okeechobee, it was not a very big chatterbait lake for a while. It wasn't until Brett Height won an FLW event out here where people got confidence in it and really started throwing it. But even then, on this lake, it seemed like you had to have a certain situation. The lake had to set up a certain way. The fish had to set up on a certain type of deal to where you could go out and, I mean, you could always catch fish on a chatterbait, but potentially win a tournament or catch a 25 to 30 pound bag on this lake on it. There was kind of a niche little thing that would happen. And that's kind of what happened when Brett Height won out here. Now, due to the lack of vegetation, the lack of reeds, and all the political crap that's going on with this lake, I don't care. And it also, let me back up too, it was kind of a early spring, winter, fall type bait when that water temp got down, or as it was just on the incline for fish that were pre-spawn and things like that. Now, I don't care if it's August and the water temp's 90 degrees, 95 degrees, do not come on this lake without a chatterbait tied on, in my opinion. The way the lake's setting up now, like I said, the lack of vegetation, everything dying off and stuff, you can cover water efficiently with this. You can catch numbers, you can catch big ones, and it's one of the most productive and efficient baits to fish Lake Okeechobee with anymore, which is kind of sad to say, but it is what it is. I always have one in my boat. When, you know, 4 years ago, I had one in my boat for 2 months out of the year. But let's also back up. So with that, I was not a chatterbait guru. And when this little guy came out, a lot of you guys have maybe heard of this. This is called the Jackhammer. This like took the industry by storm. This was the biggest, baddest thing on the market, and still kind of, in a way, it still is. So let me show you how the fishing industry works and how they catch you and stuff. So obviously, I'm on Lake Okeechobee. It is a chatterbait place, or maybe I just wasn't a chatterbait person. And I threw whatever chatterbait was cheap, and I got my hands on whatever was on sale. I think it was the Z-Man, the Pro, Maybe it was the one that they replaced this with. I don't know. It was 10 bucks. It had a good hook in it, so you could throw it on braid, and you could throw it on fluoro. I always throw mine on fluoro. And I threw the $5 original ChatterBait as well. And one day I had a customer come to the boat, and he was a great fisherman. I forget exactly where he was from. And he said, "You're not throwing that Jackhammer yet?" And I said, "I'm not paying $20 for a ChatterBait. I'm not doing it." And he had a ChatterBait box with him that was probably worth $800. Just nothing but Jackhammers in there. And I forget where he was from, but all they did was ChatterBait fish. He was very good at it. He taught me a lot. It was awesome. So that's one of my favorite parts of my job, is just fishing with different people. He showed me a lot of things, and it was great. And as a tip, at the end of the day, he threw me 5 brand new Jackhammers in the pack. He said, "Here, have fun with it. Thank me later." So now I've got 5 free Jackhammers. So I'm throwing them wherever I want, whenever I want. I don't care. I didn't pay for them. And the first thing I noticed with it is when I threw the Jackhammer in the water and reeled it, I saw absolutely no difference between the $5, the $10, or the $20 bait. Yes, this looks a little prettier, okay? Like, I do like the eyes. I like the shape of the head. I like the hardware. I kind of like the hook. And the skirt is very well, you know, it's a good looking skirt, okay? Now, with that being said, 90% of what I just mentioned catches the angler, not the fish. Do I like the cool looking eyes in the bait? Yeah, but the fish isn't seeing that. A lot of times down here on Lake Okeechobee specifically, the pretty skirt doesn't necessarily do anything. Our water is usually a little muddy or dirty or tannic. They're not getting a very detailed look at this bait, all right? They're seeing a silhouette, they're seeing a shade, and it's going by them and they're eating it. I could see on a clear water estuary or maybe a clear water fishery, yes. I mean, I could definitely see the better looking skirt as a whole playing a big role. But the hook, you know, I throw my chatterbaits strictly on 20-pound fluorocarbon. That's it. I don't throw it on braid. But if you were to throw it on braid, this hook will open up, and I'm here to tell you I have opened this up even with fluorocarbon. Now, that's not a knock on the bait. I don't care what hook it is, what type of fish you're fishing for. If a hook hits a fish in a hard spot or something and just doesn't get good penetration, you can open it up. You can open this up with 10-pound mono or fluorocarbon if you hook the fish in the right spot. But either way, as far as the way the bait was vibrating and coming through the water, I really did not see much of a difference. Start doing my research, and like the reason this thing is called the Jackhammer is because of how hard it vibrates. My whole argument with a chatterbait in general is when you're throwing a chatterbait, you're trying to emulate and replicate something that fish is feeding on in its natural environment day in and day out, whether it be a shad, a bluegill, you're trying to rip it off of a stalk to get a reaction bite. I don't know, I've been fishing a long time. I don't know, I've never seen a bluegill or a shiner or a shad or a cichlid that's swimming that vibrates as much as the $5 chatterbait does, let alone this thing. So if you're trying to imitate something that the fish is feeding on consistently, why do you need that much vibration? Why do you need more vibration? You know what I'm saying? They always say, oh, if it's not taking the paint off the head, it's not vibrating enough. Funny enough, the way I have 99% of my success throwing a vibrating jig is when I just can barely feel that blade vibrating at all. Feathering it through reeds or feathering it very near the bottom, almost fishing it more like a worm. And it's just one of them things. I don't know. I don't know why you need it to vibrate as much as they say. Now, people will say, oh, it helps them find it in muddy water. Well, if you're fishing muddy water, those bass have been living and feeding and surviving in that muddy water for thousands and thousands of years, feeding on shad, crayfish, whatever it may be, that don't vibrate as much as a vibrating jig. And this is the standard anymore. This is the industry standard. This is the $20. This is what everyone's throwing, right? And there's other guys that are making them in their houses, custom made, that vibrate even more than this. And I just don't get it. But with that being said, let's go back to my angler. So He gives me 5 jackhammers and I'm throwing them, and I start catching fish in a tournament on a ChatterBait. Lo and behold, I win the event. It wasn't a big tournament. I don't even remember what tournament it was. It actually might have been a 3-hour night tournament with my wife or something. Actually, and I lied, I think we won it 2 weeks in a row. Lo and behold, I lose all my jackhammers. I broke one off, one I lost, you know, whatever happens. So now I have to go buy more ChatterBaits. And this whole time I'm sitting here telling you, like, it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter. What do you think I went and spent the money on? Jackhammers. Because I had success, I caught fish, I caught big fish, I won the tournament, I didn't lose them. I went back and it was a confidence thing. Like, I didn't even realize I did it. I walked into Okeechobee Fishing Headquarters and I grabbed 4 black bruised green pumpkin jackhammers off the shelf, and they're looking at me as the $10 one. And I couldn't let myself buy the half-price product because I already had so much confidence in the jackhammer, which, going back to those fish, I probably could have caught those fish on the $5 ChatterBait. I probably could have caught those fish on a damn Senko. But us as fishermen, confidence is everything. And that tournament and that gentleman who gave me those baits, that was probably 2.5 years ago, and I have not bought another ChatterBait besides a jackhammer since. And I could probably buy another house with how much money I've lost in ChatterBaits. With that being said, also, let me go back to this before we get into the new product. I know I'm ranting, but bear with me. So we're actually gonna go test this thing in the pond. I'm a guide, a full-time fishing guide down here in South Florida on Lake Okeechobee. And a lot of people, the first thing they say when they get into my boat, when we're ChatterBait fishing, and it's someone that doesn't bring their own tackle. A lot of people bring their own tackle, their own rods and reels, people that are using my stuff. When I say we're gonna throw a ChatterBait, the first thing they say is, whoa, you're gonna let me throw a jackhammer? They almost just pre-notion that I'm going with a guide, he's gonna have me throwing the cheapest ChatterBait because he's in this to make money and we might lose them. Let me tell you guys something. If you think fishing a tournament puts a lot of stress on you, try guiding. There is nothing more stressful than having an individual or a group of people in your boat paying you money to put them on fish, and you may have a slow day or may not catch anything. It is the most nerve-wracking thing. Is why my wife will not guide with me. She will not go get her cat. It is nerve-wracking as all hell. Luckily, I usually have great people that understand if we have a slow day, it's fishing, the old term. That's why they call it fishing, not catching. But it is nerve-wracking. So I used to do that. I used to have the cheaper version. I used to keep a bait, you know, the $10 ChatterBait. But what happens? I have more confidence in the jackhammer. I tie them on a $10 one, and we're fishing an area that looks productive to me, where I feel like they should be getting bit. And after 5 minutes, 10 minutes of that bait, I say, let me see it, and I cut it off, and I put the jackhammer on for them, because in my mind, I know if I was fishing in there, I'd be throwing a certain bait, and if I don't have 100% confidence on what they're doing, it gives me anxiety, and at least I know they're throwing exactly what I would be throwing. And then if they don't get bit, maybe the fish aren't biting, maybe they move, then we got to adjust. But what it came down to was, I was almost spending more money on baits because I had to buy the stuff I wanted to fish with in tournament situations, and it's the cheaper stuff when I was guiding, instead of just buying what I would throw and that's it. So now, all I have in my boat are Z-Man Jackhammer ChatterBaits. Is it ridiculous that they're $20? Absolutely. But it goes back to confidence. Now, with that being said, at iCast this year, Z-Man came out with this new Z-Man Evo Pro or Evo, whatever it is, and I really like the looks of this bait. On top of that, I really like the price point. This baby runs you about $10.29, $10, whatever. So it's essentially half the price of the jackhammer, okay? Now, with that being said, I am a huge Brett Hite fan, and I forget the other gentleman's name who designed that bait as well with Evergreen. A big reason I feel like that bait is they're getting 20 bucks for it is because Z-Man needs a chunk of the money, Evergreen needs a chunk of the proceeds, Brett Hite gets his chunk, and the other gentleman from Japan gets his cut off of one sale of each bait. All right. Now, I don't want to cut Brett Height, my guy, out of money, but I need to make money too. And this bait right here, I am very excited about. It's half the price, but it almost looks better than a Jackhammer to me, and I really like the hardware. We'll go over it. Again, the big eye on the bait on the Jackhammer, this one's got some bigger, cooler looking eyes. Again, the fish don't see that at all. You could take this same bait and not put an eye on it and catch as many fish, but for me, I think it looks cool. I like the shape of the head, all right? I think the head looks awesome. It's very close to the Jackhammer. Same blade, same line hookup. I'm not 100% sure, but to me, I think this hook might be a gauge bigger as far as thickness. And I like that because I think the thicker the hook, it's harder to drive the hook into the fish. But once you get it into them, it's got more meat and you don't lose as many, all right? The skirt, these two baits right here, this is the spot remover color. Big fan of this color. Looking like an idiot here because I am one. Oh my gosh, I'm tangled. Got a helicopter or a plane about to fly over, excuse that. These two colors are very, in my opinion, very similar. All right, they're just kind of upside down of each other. All right, they're close enough that the fish ain't gonna tell the difference. Okay, so the colors look good, the skirts look good. And then on top of that, this is what I'm talking about. It's blowing 35 miles an hour. Why is there a private helicopter flying over my house? On top of it, the hook keeper is really cool. Instead of having two prongs, it's just got a bottom prong, but it's got this lead hook keeper on here, which actually, I'll be first to tell you, actually looks like it might be sliding a little bit. But that's gonna do two things. One, it's gonna really help hold that bait, your trailer, on that hook, because on the Jackhammer, the hook keeper just runs to here, which means a lot of times the middle of your bait will rip, the hook will rip through, and you'll just be left with it stuck towards the front like this, and it doesn't swim right. Whereas with the lead, when you run this, your trailer, whatever it may be, onto that bait, and you can put a dab of super glue on there. I know, we all use that trick and it does work. But if you could run that on there, what that does, and I don't even know if I did that straight, but that trailer is being held on not just towards the front of the trailer, but all the way through the bait, and it's got a really good grip on there. The other thing you might do, because there is some lead down here towards the belly, it might help that bait run a little bit more true and keep it a little lower in the water column, which I like. Again, I have yet to throw this. This is $10. It's half the price, and I have a ton of confidence in it already as I did the Jackhammer. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put the chesty on, and we're gonna walk down here to the pond, and we're gonna throw each one and kind of just see how they compare. Now, let me just be honest with you guys. If I catch fish on it, that means absolutely nothing to me. It's a pond. These fish are fed, they're hungry, we're probably gonna get bit. I'm not gonna be like, oh look, it caught a fish. I'm not doing that, it's a pond. I just wanna see how it compares, how it swims, if it swims true, if it vibrates the same, and just see if I see any differences. So, sorry for the long rant, but let's go see what happens. All right, walking down to the pond here. I don't have a microphone on this camera, so bear with me if the wind is bad. I don't know if you guys can see Cheese and Quackers right there, our new ducks we just brought home the other day. You can tell they're a little shy. They haven't gotten friendly yet, but either way, there's the two baits side by side. I mean, just looking at them, can you tell the difference? Can we tell the difference? If you're a fishing nerd, yeah, you could tell they're two different baits. But can the bass and do they care? I highly, highly doubt it. But we'll go over here. We'll use this little dog kennel I have laying out here that I brought the ducks home in to keep the rods out of the dirt. And I guess we'll just start with this guy, the Evo, the new one. Again, this bait's half the price of the Jackhammer. We'll see if it swims the same. Yep, video's over. You can just stop it right there. I've been throwing the jackhammer the past 4 days straight. This does it. There is no difference. It swims great. It runs true. I guess I could try to throw it out there and burn it. I very rarely ever burn a vibrating jig, but yeah, I mean, it swims true. It's running like it should. Throws great. It's a 1/2 ounce. I only throw a 1/2 ounce, contrary to what a lot of people think. They think Lake Okeechobee, shallow water, lighter bait. I like the heavier one because more times than not, when I'm throwing a vibrating jig, it means it's windy. And the little bit heavier one just makes it easier to keep it down and easier to throw into the wind. But feathering the bait, you know, just real slow like this, like I often do. You could see, I don't know if you guys can see the rod tip there, but you could feel that blade doing its thing. I mean, I don't know what else I'm really supposed to say about it. It looks great. I mean, it's I can tell you this. I'm going to be spending $10 a lot more times than I'm going to be spending $20. But probably not even going to get a bite right now because we're dealing with a big post front coming through, big cold front. But that's fine. I just wanted to see the way the bait looked. Throws great, swims the same, skirt looks good. I mean, I guess just for the sake of the video, we'll pick up the jackhammer, throw it out there. Yeah, it's the same thing. I mean, it's the same blade, same setup. I really don't think there's a difference. Are the skirts on the jackhammer a little bit more high quality and better looking? Yes, I'd be lying if I said they're not, but it's not by much, and I really don't think that a bass is going to be able to tell the difference. But again, I could see if you're fishing very clean water somewhere where you'd have more confidence in the better looking skirt. I totally get it. But that's gonna wrap this up. I'd say I could kind of show you guys how they swim in the water here on this little shallow shelf, but that wind is rolling pretty good, so there's a bad ripple on the water. But I guess I'm gonna get back to doing my house chores. But I appreciate you guys watching. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you think I'm an idiot. A lot of you let me know that on my forward-facing sonar video, and that's fine. Got ripped apart on that deal, and I never even said if I was for it or against it. I don't care either way, but a lot of people take that topic very personally, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of you that take a ChatterBait video very personally where you feel attacked also. But just throwing this out there for you guys. If you want to save a little bit of money, I really don't think you're downgrading at all by throwing the Evo Z-Man ChatterBait, whatever it's called. But I'm gonna get back to work. Like and subscribe, and let me know if you guys want to get out on Lake Okeechobee to do some fishing. I'll catch you guys on the next one.